Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. And please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by A Plain Truth, Sleeping Warrior, Ranty Flat Earth, No Globe, Jay, Dawn Treader, Arwin and Alan. How are you all doing?
Free Flat Earth.
We are.
Howdy.
Free.
Howdy.
So Dawn. Sorry, not Dawn. Who was the guy there?
Jay?
Yeah, Jay. About that presuppositional R that you're going to work out and calculate and measure. Why do you have to presuppose that there's a sphere? Why don't you do a test that tests whether there's a presupposition there that's valid in the first place?
Right. So that's why I went over it, but I'll just be clear again. I'm not going to presume right away that it's a sphere. I'm going to first test the equatorial shape, make sure that that's a circle. If that's a circle, then I'll do the same thing with the 90 degrees longitude, make sure it's perpendicular. I won't stop there. I guess you can do more lines of longitude, somewhere in between. The more you did, and even then, I wouldn't assume a sphere. But if I wanted to find the distance to the sun, I would be happy at this point to move forward. And there's several more steps that you'd have to do. You'd have to find the size of the moon first, and then afterwards.
So, all right.
How are you going to do that based on land measurements?
Talk me how you'd find the size of the moon then. Would you use what, trig?
Yeah, I'm trying. Let me remember which one I would do first. Okay, so first of all, like I said, I already know what other people's measurements are, so I'll tell you what the estimates of what I think I'll get, but I'm not going to use those assumptions. I'm just going to I'm going to test it for myself and see if the moon rise from top, so the top of the moon, to the time the bottom of the moon hits the horizon.
You're going to measure that as an angle, right?
As an angular size, and see how much time that takes, and then go off that time and compare it to the time it takes for for everything to go around the Earth, whatever it's 24 hours.
Around the Earth?
Hours,
what do you mean around the Earth? Around the Earth?
So one of the values would be the
Hold on, Anthony. Hold on. What do you mean around the Earth?
Just the time from the 24-hour period, which you could call it whichever we want to call it. I don't want to presume that one's spinning over the other, but it seems that every 23 hours, 56 minutes, everything seems to come close to where it started the day previous, and so. Right.
Yeah, I just still didn't understand. What do you mean by around the Earth?
Oh, like I said, the first measurement was found. Say, this is the path I would go down if it were found this way.
Me, don't kick me.
Welcome. I suppose.
No, so we found that it was a radius. I mean, we found the radius because we found the circumference of the equator and the perpendicular.
We didn't get to that. Sorry. Why have you inserted that we found a radius? We haven't.
Well, no, that's like I said. That's not saying that we actually did. This is just the path I would go down.
So what you're saying is you assume a radius, correct?
No. Like I said, I'm just trying to lead.
How are you going to dance around the fact that you're saying that you're going to insert a radius value, even though you don't have one that's actually been measured or scientifically proven? How are you going to wiggle your way around this? You're not going to. Doesn't matter how many times you say, oh, well, when I say around the world, I'm not presupposing it's spherical. Yeah, right.
Okay, I'll just reiterate this. Then I'm not going to beat it to the ground, but I'm not already assuming that it's going to be a sphere. This is just the steps I'm going to take if it were going this way. If I did not find a sphere and I did not find a radius, I would have to start over and try to figure out how I would find the distance of the sun otherwise.
So what you're saying is, unless you assume the radius, you can't find the distance to the sun, unless you assume a radius, correct?
Well, no, I would, like I said, I would not be assuming a radius at this point. I would have found the radius.
I think you
Sorry,
tried, man.
have you found it or haven't you? What do you mean you would have found it? At this point, have you found it or not?
At this point, no. But I know how to look for...
So what the bloody hell is the point in doing this? Why can't you just admit, like a weaselly little weasel, that you have to assume an R value? You're going to dance around it all day?
You understand what I'm saying?
No! I understand that you're saying that at some stage you have to assume an R value.
No, I never used that word.
Yeah, you danced around it and said that, oh, well, at that stage, if I can't assume it, I'd have to go back and actually figure it out, right?
Yeah, I'd be figuring that's. I went through the steps on how to figure it out.
Orange sky with the obstruction really clear.
So are we at the point now where we can measure the stars, or not?
Oh wait, how do you measure it on a looping rectangle?
Hold on, shut up. I've got this guy's toes to the fire. Now shut your mouth. So we can't measure the stars then. You're saying we can't get a distance to the sun? That was all pointless?
No, I'm not saying that it is pointless. I'm saying that since I haven't done the measurements yet, I have to wait for the half moon. I'm waiting, I think, another week and a half, and then I can do these measurements. If the measurements come correct and the equator finds to be a circle, and the other circumference going a perpendicular direction is perpendicular, and is somewhat goes to some point at the north, and then again to the equator, and then again to the south, and again to the 90-degree south, or east, or whatever it is, and then back to the equator.
For what?
I can make.
For what?
You have to assume.
We've already told you that you can do that on a dartboard. While Arwin hijacks my point. Yeah, you can do that on a dartboard. That doesn't prove a radius.
No, I could make. We can't do it all right now, but I could show you how in a model where you actually found the circular.
Hold on, model. What are you talking about, model? We're measuring Earth, aren't we?
Just trying
so
to
we've gone through your measurements, right? And basically, we've got to the point where either you assume R or you don't. And you've gone, well, I've got it wrong. I might have to go back. Now we're back to this nonsense about going out on latitude lines. Well, like that proves something. So you don't have anything to measure for your ball belief to measure the distance to the sun, correct?
No, no. Like I said, I went over it at the beginning.
No, I'm saying it, you moron. I'm telling you then. You don't have any methodology to get a distance to the sun.
Well, I haven't been able to finish even the second step, but if I had gotten that step
the first step would require you deducing a radius, correct?
Measuring a radius based
measuring,
on...
we've gone through it, you're not measuring a radius. Good, you could do the same, shut your mouth. You shut your mouth, you can do the same measurement on a dartboard, on a flat plane. Going around in circles doesn't prove you're on a sphere.
I see a sunset on screen right now. I'm just
Shut up, Dawn. Shut up, Dawn. This dickhead is going to eventually concede that he hasn't proved R. He thinks he has. He hasn't. If he thinks he has, I want him to say, I think I can prove R. And then we can tear him a new one and point out again for the third time that going around in circles doesn't give you a radius. It doesn't give you the radius of a sphere. That's for damn sure.
Well, let's not talk over each other. I just want to ask you a question because it seems like we're talking about a dartboard, and we can use the dartboard as the equator because the dartboard has equal slots going around. Well, imagine those 360 spots being the lines of longitude, and so these are what's going to be measured next. You measure that they're perpendicular to that line of the equator, and then you measure that they're equally distanced apart, 69 miles, and then you measure that there's one that goes up, and you follow it up to the North Pole. And then you test the number on the other side and make sure that it's exactly halfway, and it goes back down to the
North Pole. Sorry,
equator.
Pole of what? Pole of what?
North Pole.
Yeah, pole of what? A sphere by chance?
It could be. I don't know yet.
Could be, or are you assuming it is?
How do you know you're at the equator on a flat Earth or any Earth?
So is your polar assumption a ball-based polar assumption or not?
It's just the name of the location.
How do you realize that's the center of where you are? Or does it not matter?
Yeah. No. I'm just going to use the location. I know that it's 0 degrees latitude, and I know that that's in every direction. So
your equator is a metaphorical equator, not the actual equator.
No, my equator. No. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was 90 degrees. 90 degrees latitude. Yeah, the equator is 0 degrees latitude, and you could say it's metaphorical, but it's actually It's used for several things. Plus, we had at the beginning of the show mentioned that it's 12 on, 12 off. So this is a specific line that can't be confused with anywhere else.
Do you know how the equator has been determined, Jay? Do you know how that is officially been determined?
Like I said, there's several ways. One would be, like I said, this is the location where every day of the year it's 12. I think it's 12:06 to 11:56, but they're all exact. So if you couldn't find it on a map,
that's not an answer. Do you know how the equator has been determined officially?
The first time, well, I mean, it is that spot that I just said, but how did
You're not answering the question. Do you know how the equator has been determined officially?
Yeah, that's as far as I know. If you have more information.
Okay, well, the equator has been determined by the angular positions of the heavenly bodies. That is how it has been determined. That is how it is basically derived to the conclusion, okay, in this specific band, the sun is always at its highest.
I think
the globe of the heavens seem to be the most.
The
poles seem to be at the most horizontal position. That is how it has been derived that position, that latitude is the equator.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
Awesome. So we'll be able to use this equator then. And like I said, if you test the perpendicular nature of the, like I said, 90 the other side, and like I said, this wouldn't be perceptions.
There's a little problem with that, and that is, we honestly do not know the nature of the heavenly bodies other than their angular relations to the earth. So you can't really derive an actual shape from the heavenly bodies. You can just determine that there are certain points that can even form lines over the earth that have this heavenly effect, basically, that have the equator where there is the most sunlight present. But there is no conclusive evidence that this is a straight line or a circle around the supposed curve, which has to be supposed if you're on a globe.
Okay,
so,
well, bear with me for 15 seconds. I did go over this before, but I said you could check each number that it's right next to each other all the way around, and then to the last point where the two numbers that you would assume are the end are also attached right next to each other. That's one.
How are you going to determine what that path actually is unless you physically measure one point to the other and then connect all the points? Because that is what is required. You can't just base it on the heavenly body position, because that does not give conclusive evidence as to what the path it is that you're following. You actually have to do the physical land measures and connect them.
Right.
To be sure what type of path you're following.
That's what I'm suggesting. So it would be, you'd find that it was after you did this, of course, you'd find that if it were connected, it were maybe not circular, but it was connected. But then, like I said, once you measured the perpendicular nature of the longitudinal lines around and then reaching to the other side, and if it were equal distance, and you did that again at a 90-degree angle, so you did like 180 degrees to 0, or whichever the numbers in between those were, you'd find that it could be an oval shape, it could be whatever shape, but you found them to also be equal.
But still assuming a curvature on any kind of three-dimensional shape, all you're basically doing is measuring the layout of the land. The layout. How the layout is basically out there in relation from one location to another. Doesn't really prove any three-dimensional shape. You can only deduce it, like reason out, okay, because of the layout of the land is basically divided like this, we might derive a conclusion that it is some kind of three-dimensional shape. Unless you're actually going to find proof of physical curvature, then yeah, it's very hard to determine
these perpendicular,
other than flat. And even if it is flat, then you still have no conclusive evidence that there is not some kind of spatial non-linearity going on.
Right.
You don't know
the perpendicular directions is they would tell you they wouldn't give you a shape, they wouldn't tell you it's spherical, and so you don't have to assume that much. This would only be this is a lot of work just to get to the next step. But once we had this much information, we could be confident that it was not that it was a three-dimensional shape based on the 9-degree nature of those longitudinal lines.
Why are you just rinsing and repeating? It's like you've just not listened to a damn word Arwen's just said. You just deduce that. Nothing you have said provides you with any concrete proof. It's also circular reasoning. The system you are using was derived from the sun to begin with. So it's circular reasoning, and yet you're using it to then basically presuppose the radius. That's all you're doing. You haven't proven anything with this first step. The next step is assume R. You just want to dance around it like you've actually done something, and you haven't. Stop rinsing and repeating. If you say it again for a 4th time, I'm going to kick you out. I don't want to hear this proof of nothing garbage again.
Okay. Well, if you don't mind, then I'll just go on to the next step because I had
if it's the next step in this crap, you have to accept that at this stage you are going to insert a presuppositional value. R.
Right. I won't even.
You haven't taken us through the steps of getting to a sphere shape. You haven't done that.
Well, I tried to. You said something about a sphere, about a dartboard, and I tried to go over that. When I don't know.
We know how the layout would work out and what kind of how the shape could be interconnected. But the thing is, there really is no direct evidence. You basically have to go a few steps ahead and assume that it's going to work out according to the ball system for you to actually get to the R value and then deduce the distances to the sun and the moon. But yeah, you just go and do these land measurements first, because what if it's not going to work out? Then all of this theoretical reasoning is going to be completely useless.
No, you're right. That's why I included that land evidence in it. But like I said, I don't want to go over it again. Just for the sake of you guys. But you saying I'm not getting that shape, or I had to assume something, that we just described it. And so the thing that we just described, it's not assuming or deduce. It is deducing, but deducing is actually moving forward and taking out everything else.
So it is deducing.
Is not measuring.
Sorry, so it is deducing. Hold on, Arwen. It is deducing then, so that you can move forward, correct?
We're deducing by taking out the information that we can omit and using what's left to move forward.
Sorry. So at that point, you have deduced that it's a sphere, correct?
If we did find these 9-degree perpendicular nature things that went over and acted this way, we would have no choice. That wouldn't prove it was a sphere.
We've gone through that. That doesn't prove sphericity. So, anything else?
We would have a choice. Actually.
Anything else that you're going to use, or are you just going to assume it?
Deduce a sphere, Nathan.
Sorry?
There's one way to deduce a sphere.
Well, let's see you prove it. 2,000 years you've been asserting this, Dawn, and we're taking this guy in a hangout as evidence that you've been using it for 2,000 years. So presumably, if this is the standard way of doing it, you can now go to a textbook with the word science above it and find me an independent and a dependent variable, a methodology that's been constantly repeated throughout history. Right, Dawn?
I think he should give up because he's tried and you didn't like it, so.
Like what? You're telling me that this guy's standard of evidence is what's been used? Dawn, is this guy's crap test that proves nothing the standard of evidence that NASA used when they used the R value?
I'm not sure. I think they used a lot of other things as well.
Try and get it for me, Dawn. There's a little task for you. Find where NASA get their R value.
They make many different types of deductions. Eventually, they come up with an R they're happy with.
Oh, do they? And you've just researched that in the 10 seconds between us having a sentence.
I know this is how science works.
You know how science works, really? I don't think so, Dawn. What's a hypothesis?
I'm sorry, but most humans have deduced a spinning sphere.
Deduction doesn't come into it.
Get on with your lives
deduction.
Now.
I've just asked you what a hypothesis is, and now you're telling me about deduction. What are you talking about? So you don't know how science works, then, Dawn?
Science says a spinning.
No,
globe.
science doesn't say anything. It doesn't have a mouth.
You look into it yourself.
Science is a method. It doesn't say anything, you idiot.
Easily.
You idiot.
Got obstruction
you
now
idiot.
on screen by your man
Stop
Ranty.
it. Shut your mouth. Science doesn't say. Science isn't Simon. So what's a hypothesis, Dawn? You just told us you know science. Tell us what a hypothesis is, Dawn, if you know science.
Like last night as well.
What's your hypothesis? What is your explanation for what a hypothesis is, Dawn? You've just told us you know science, right? And NASA, when asked why they've got an assumed value of R, which I'm asking you to dig that out for yourself, you're telling me that they science it, right? They science the shit out of that R value, right, Dawn? They science it, right? They science that R value, do they? So tell me what science is. What's a hypothesis?
Can't. But I think that Don is ready to settle for, because yeah, Don, you made it plenty clear, because the sun goes up and goes down. That is proof to you that it is a sphere. So that's how far as your reasoning skills go. It's based on a huge amount of presuppositional spheres, including of the heavens, all of that, all of your physicality assumptions.
Rectangular.
That is all beautifully proved to you. That it's all nonsense. You have no proof.
It's not backed by science, though,
You just
Dawn.
want to accept it.
Dawn, his rectangular looping theory isn't taught to children. It's not broadcast on the TV stations. It's not in the science books, right? It's not what happens when you wiki something. You don't get Arwin's theory, do you? What you do get, if you'd let me finish a sentence, what you do get, Dawn, before you can put the steam back in your ears, Dawn, what you do get is it an assertion that you've got a spherical Earth, and that sphericity is based on a value of R, which if you could shut up and listen for long enough, I know you religious zealots don't like this. I know it's hard for you, Dawn. I realise. But if you actually did a little bit of research instead of just accepting what someone tells you, you'd find that these people have assumed the value of R. They don't science the shit out of it like you think, right? It's just assumed.
At first, obviously. It's a hypothesis.
It's just
then they do
assumed,
measurements,
Dawn.
and they deduce it in different ways and confirm it to their own satisfaction.
And confirm it, right? You can confirm things using the scientific method. You can actually do that, Dawn, but there isn't any scientific evidence for it. That's our point.
There's loads.
Did you just say globe?
There's loads of scientific evidence. This is
provide
why
it
I
then.
don't believe it.
What?
I'm getting
Get us
bored
some.
of you guys.
Get us some then, Dawn. Show us.
Dawn, you're trolling me.
Yeah,
I'll show you an observation of a solar eclipse.
Let me ask you a question, Dawn. Why would Mick West confess that it's an assumption if the scientific evidence?
He confessed that the calculator assumes that the measurements are correct.
Yeah, he uses the standard model. That's what he uses.
Yes.
He wasn't a brave enough man to just say it's my calculator. He blamed it on the standard model. I just used the standard model.
Obviously.
Yeah, he just uses the standard value. I tied him down on that too. It's
so
not...
you can check things off against it if you like.
Sorry.
You can make your own calculator.
My question
to you,
to
any
you, Dawn.
R in you like.
My question to you, Dawn.
You can take the code, put
My
any R in you
question
like,
to
and do
you,
more
Dawn,
experiments if you
is
like.
why would Mick West confess that it's an assumption if there is scientific evidence as you think there is?
He didn't say R has always been an assumption. He said his calculator assumes
it is
R
an assumption. There is no scientific evidence. He also admitted that. I asked him what his scientific evidence was for it. He said he hadn't got any.
That's right.
He's a video game developer.
So why would you ever trust what he's got to say?
I don't like him. I don't trust him.
Right, well, he's using the standard model.
I think he trolls you guys quite hard.
Well, he's using the standard model of R. That's why I asked you to find out what value NASA use and where NASA get their value from, Dawn.
I'm wasting your own time.
Sorry, you're not going to listen to me. So you can ignore Mick West and the fact that I've asserted, as he has, that he uses the standard model, and ask NASA where they get their R value from, Dawn. Are they a bit more serious than a game developer?
Yes.
Right, so find out where they get their R value from. I guarantee it's the same value, and I guarantee it's also an assumption.
It's not an assumption.
So why would it be the case that someone like Mick wouldn't just provide the scientific evidence if there was some?
Well, what do you want him to show you?
Scientific evidence of the R value specifically.
Well, people sailing around the Earth with sextants and telescopes and measuring tools and across the oceans. What did you expect him to show you?
Scientific evidence. How many times have I got to say it?
Do you expect like a higher power, like a god creature that gets a ruler out and measures it?
No.
Like
that would be
science. You said you understood what science was, Dawn.
Yeah, you know what I meant.
I don't know what you mean. I don't speak retard very well.
You do, mate. You
Right, well,
do.
I'm asking you the same question I asked Mick, and you're saying there is science for it. I'm telling you there isn't. You're just deluding yourself.
And we please move on. Don is just holding up everyone. This
for the sake of the argument,
really
I'm happy to give you.
He's not going to provide any answers. He doesn't even understand.
So what?
Thanks, Arwin. Just as when he got to the bit where he actually confesses, Arwin talks all over it.
So like, I was just getting a bit annoyed because you
So
haven't
what
got
were you
anyone
saying?
better than me to come on.
You
I'm the only
admit
one
what?
who's still
Sorry, Dawn,
interested.
that it's an assumption.
Yeah, I'm happy to give you for the sake of this argument.
Not for the
But
sake of an
R is
argument.
totally
It's a fact,
assumed.
Dawn.
No one knows the full measurement
Dawn,
of
it's
R.
not
NASA
the sake of
assumes R, and
argument.
they do all their stuff on an assumption. So what?
So what? It's the basis of the globe. It's the
go on
fundamental
with
premise
your
of your religion.
This is making you unhealthy, this obsession with R.
No, it's not my obsession. You think
It
you're on a
is, mate.
ball. Dawn, listen.
You are so obsessed
listen,
with it.
Dawn. I don't assume R. R's inconsequential in my world. You assume it, and you're telling me I've got some
You're
unhealthy
obsessed
obsession
with
with
other
it.
people's
You have got an...
so-called
Dawn,
assumptions.
shut up a second. You've got an unhealthy belief in R. It's not me obsessed with it. You've got an unhealthy
I don't care
belief.
about R. I told you that earlier in the show.
Told me what?
I don't care about R.
But it's the basis of your religion.
It's not.
What do you think they're measuring this sphere as?
I'm not in that religion anymore. Flat Earth woke me out of it 35 years into my life.
Right, so you accept that the sphere is just a religion?
No, not just.
What do you mean just? It is just a religion.
No, it's not just a religion.
Okay, it's a religion.
You can consider it religious if you want.
It is religious. You only have an assumed value of your basis for your religion. The R value. It's a religious belief.
The R is one part of it.
Right, a big part. The main part. The measurement for the
Only
sphere
for,
you
like-
stand on.
Only for some sciences is a big part.
Right, it's the assumed value of the sphere that you stand on in your
Reduced
religion.
measured value.
Not measured, assumed. You've just conceded
yeah,
it.
sorry,
You
I
said
gave
for the
you that,
sake of
didn't
this
I, for the
argument, but
conversation.
you can't do it, can you, Dawn?
Assumed value.
Because accepting that it's just an assumption, that they've just made it up, means that you have to accept that basically you've got a religious belief in this value. Now, you don't want to. You want to kid yourself and say, I'll
No,
concede
I
it for
never had a
argument's sake.
belief in the
And
value.
talk all over the other guy while I try and wrap my head around the fact that I've got a religious belief.
You seem like you've got like an anti-religious belief, like
Yeah,
one of those people
anti-R.
that with
Yeah,
picket
you're right.
fence, picket.
Yeah,
Pick
I
a
see
line.
people like you as sad. You have a religious belief and you don't even realise it. You tell yourself you've got science for it. People like Rumpus assert that the whole body of science is behind it. So when you say, okay, show us your science, there isn't any.
Dawn,
Hello, Rumpus.
don't you think it's funny that Nathan takes all his instructions from a Christian fundamentalist?
Don't take any instructions from anybody.
Yes, you do. You just repeat what John says.
John has told me how the scientific method works. That's not John's method.
Yeah, he also believes in Noah.
He doesn't
So what?
understand the scientific
That's got
method.
nothing to do with the scientific method.
Do you see
You also
Nathan
believe
talking
in
about
God.
Noah? Alan, is ridiculous.
Let's talk about your rectangular looping map.
No, we
That's
want to talk
about
about the R value
miles
that
an
you
hour.
assume.
How does the sun work on that?
We're talking about an R value that's assumed, the basis of the
So
globe
it's
religion.
calculated, measured.
Sorry, we're talking about the R value that's assumed, the basis
That's
of your
measured.
religion. That's what we're talking about.
That's measured.
It's not measured.
Oh, yeah,
it's
bring us the
assumed.
proof then.
Well, we have, for instance, the Ordnance Survey in the UK has receivers dotted, about 75 receivers dotted
Oh,
around the
Jesus,
country.
I'm leaving.
75,
Goodbye. Thank God.
75 receivers dotted around the country that are busy measuring the shape of the Earth all the time. I mean, if you wanted your house measured, you'd call a surveyor in, and that's effectively what happens with the Earth. We've got lots of surveyors surveying the Earth, and they've got a value for R, being confirmed by GPS, by the Russian satellite system, by your own personal measurements you can make, everything. We have pictures, Everything points to a value, a particular value of R.
So what's
And
the
it's measured.
scientific
It's
evidence?
not deduced, it's not assumed, it's measured.
What's the scientific evidence for R?
Well, the surveying data that for instance, the Ordnance
That's not
Survey
scientific evidence.
Every day.
That's not scientific evidence.
Well, if you wanted your house measured, Nathan, would you call a scientist in to measure it, or would you call a surveyor in?
I'm asking you, someone who asserts that the whole body of science is behind this bullshit, what the scientific evidence is. Not surveying evidence.
Surveying evidence.
No, that's not what I asked for. Scientific evidence.
I'm telling you how it comes
I'm not
about.
asking for what the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors say. I'm asking what science says.
Well, the science provides the tools for the surveyors to use.
Oh, really? Excellent. So what scientific tools did they use? Let's hear the scientific hypothesis from the surveyors.
Well, do you think a surveyor hypothesizes experimentally about the size of your house if he wanted to survey it?
I don't know. I don't care about what. I'm not surveying a house. We're surveying Earth now, aren't we?
That's what they do.
We're surveying Earth, not my house. So scientific evidence for R from the surveyors.
It's an observation, Nathan. It's an observation.
Well, then that's not science, is it?
Experiment.
That's not science, then, is it?
Well.
Oh, looks like the entire panel's been wiped out. What an unbelievable bunch of bastards. And yet, who's left in the hangout? Rumpus and Allen. Globers. Globers only allowed, apparently, according to this sniper's rulebook. Only Globers allowed. Yeah, sod that for a game of monkeys. There will be a short intermission. Hey, Ranty.
Yo.
Hey, Owen. Took me a lot longer to get back into the Hangouts. It didn't want to work. Hey, Plain Truth.
It was just getting good.
It astounds me that
annoying.
Rumpus actually believes in this nonsense. He believes that at the equator was travelling at over 1,000 miles an hour, and yet at the geographic North Pole it's 0.
Apparently the R value comes from surveyors. So that's where NASA go to. That's their main men. They go to the surveyors, apparently. Get a house built, need an R value, surveyors.
I think he must be paid. Rumpus has to be paid to come in here and spout his nonsense. He gets wrecked every time he comes in.
Can you fire the link off to Spurs? I'm struggling to find him in Skype.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us about how you got on Morgal's show yesterday?
Who?
Plain Truth.
Who?
On Morgal yesterday. I stayed up till about 2:30 AM, which is when it finally started. And then I tuned in for about half an hour and then finally dozed off. But I got to hear some of it. He's around, maybe not. It's going to be the quietest ending ever after that little row about the lack of proof of R.
He will return at some point, I'm sure, because you know what he's like. He likes to come in for the last 5 minutes, make a big barnstorming entrance, pretend that he's intelligent, and then the show ends. For some reason, I don't have Spurs chemos.
He's joined, actually. Just good timing. Hey, Spurs.
Hey, how's it going? Are we live?
We are live, yeah.
It's Coco here.
Who?
He was talking to you about R and so on. You were asking him about the radius of R, how he's going to prove it.
Right.
Yes, so I have a bet with him about the sunsets and things disappearing bottom first. I don't know if you saw Rob Skiba's video or demonstration where he shows the atmosphere causes things to go down and removing it and such not. So he's going to repeat this experiment, and he thinks he will get different results than what Rob Skiba found. I thought he was here. I wanted to discuss it with him, but he's not here.
Yeah, I mean, certainly in the images that Ranty's taken of the sun, there's a few of them that will scroll by on this slideshow. It's going behind the circle of confusion. That layer that has normally got an inverted mirage is really obvious when the sun goes through it, because you can see the bottom of the sun, the bottom edge, on the top edge of the hard horizon, but inverted.
Okay, yeah.
And then its appearance,
I just thought it was here, but
its
appearance
is such that it's shrinking in size, but then as soon as you put a solar filter on it, it remains the same. So it's a tough one to call. It presents itself in a very mysterious way, does the sun?
Well, that's what we're finding out. Something strange is happening. It's very mystical that we just either want a simple answer that says, okay, just put it down to curvature, or it's something that is just way beyond our understanding, where some people don't want to go to. Oh, excuse me a minute.
I think it's going to take years of research to finally understand where we are.
Well, I think that mostly what we can do is what Jay was proposing to do before he went off into his assumption-based deduction of how it's supposed to be a globe or whatever, not really entertaining the other possibilities, really. But yeah, just measure out the land surface, see how the land is interconnected, what the distances really are, and then you get a surface shape and yeah, a system of how the land is interconnected. And then you can place on that system how the heavenly bodies, how the equator is there. And then, yeah, you can have a system, but still it's not going to bring any curvature there. Only if you assume the curvature can you turn it into a geometric shape, but the curvature is not really there. So it's still, yeah, there's still the possibility that I entertain, that spatial non-linearity, that there is some kind of strange interconnection. But yeah, if we just got all this data in how the land and sea bottom also, by the way, is interconnected, then we would go a long way into understanding how the surface of the land is interconnected. I think that is the best we can do for a while. And see, an important factor is there some kind of dome or edge or place where you can basically no longer horizontally move. And once we get all that data together, then yeah, we can theorize basically about what it all means. But yeah, all these assumptions that the Earth is a 3D geometrical shape, it just doesn't hold together because there is no curvature.
Do you want to see those sunset videos? Those sunset images, Nathan?
Of a what?
I said, do you want to see those sunset images?
Oh yeah, I can see they're on your icon. I'll stick them up. Yeah, definitely. These are glorious.
Because this will be on the 1080 monitor now, so you'll see them as I see them.
If you zoom in a couple of notches, it'll fill the viewer's screen. There you go.
I mean, I think the sun is a very small sun here, and I think all this is just some kind of lensing that's going on. I don't think that's the real sun, this stuff at the bottom. I think it's there, just where my cursor is. I think in an image or two, you might see that a little bit better. Yeah, like this one. Because can you see how it's circular there, but then it straightens out on this sort of edge here. So I think that's the real sun, the bright orange one there, and this is all just some kind of lensing that's going on in the hitting the air before it gets to us, because it's that close to the horizon there. Do you know what I mean? Look how it reflects upwards as well, like it's reflecting off something.
Well, I would say that the apparent sun disk is basically in the miraging band, causing these distortions. But yeah, I just fall back on what I think, and that is that the sun disk is just the focal point from where the angle is, or sorry, not. It's basically the focal point from which the daylight direction is coming in relation to the observer. So the light above there may simply be another, just more light from that singular direction hitting the clouds above there. I don't think that the sun really is an object. I think it's just it's an effect. It's an optical effect. And now that optical effect in this image is within the miraging distortion zone, causing it to look like it does.
It was a beautiful capture, actually. When I caught this, I was at St. Bees.
It's amazing.
Yeah, because look at this here. Can you see? It's like there's something right at the top there. But but the rest of it just looks like it's hitting the air. And see how it gets brighter as well. I mean, this is a later image. Maybe it's just because of the tilt of the camera, how I was holding it or something, that caught more light, but it seems to have gone brighter at the top. And darker again. Must have just been the way I was holding the camera. Caught some more from around Blackpool, actually. I'm trying to think where it would be. I think it was on, not that one. Oh yeah, look at these. This was the afterglow after the sun had set. How cool is that?
Just zoom in a couple of notches. Again, it just fills the screen nicer.
Looks like a painting. There might be a few others before these ones as well. But that one. It's a very mysterious world that we live in. We just don't understand it. That's the thing. We know we're not on a spinning ball, but we can't prove what exactly we are on right now. But we're trying our best, trying to understand this. Trying to understand these effects. And I'm going down to the beach soon as well to do some more. Trying to look at Barrow, because I think the weather will be all right for that. I sent you an image, Nathan, on Skype.
Have you got the ones with the boat going through?
Oh, yeah, that's the one I was looking for. What was it on? Let's have a look at that one. No. I just saw it just before, so I know I've got it. Ah, here we are. I'll just...
Wow.
there's a better one than that. I think it's...
Yeah, just zoom them in a couple of notches each time. It just makes it look so... There you go. That's so cool.
That was from Blackpool. That I think that was from, no, that's from Cleveland when I took this one. And you can see the turbines are getting smaller as the angular size changes. They get further away. You can actually see the miraging on the water of the sun, because it seems to have gone beneath the you know, where the fake water would be. When I say fake water, you know, when I'm saying that the air mimics the water. Well, can you see that you think that the horizon would be this water layer here, but it's clearly not, because the sun is burning through that dirty layer of air. Can you see? Nathan, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see what you mean. I mean, I kind of know anyway from how it's been explained 100 times by Arwin. You know, you've got this line that goes up to the midpoint, and if you've got waves that are close to that in the far distance, if they go up only a slight amount, it will block and obscure what you think is the horizon. And that's uniform across the sea, because it's generally uniform in terms of the conditions. And the calmer it is, the lower the obstruction. I mean, you have demonstrated this sufficiently in your photographs with a calm sea. You can show it with a rough sea and see how much obstruction you get, more. And it all falls in line with perspective every single time. Something they omit from their calculations. Standard model doesn't account for perspective, it's only seen in orthographic view. We're told at the moment in comments over and over again that you can extract the perspective data from the orthographic view, and it's like, yeah, that's great. You don't do it though. Anyway, these are beautiful. Have you got the one maybe 3 or 4 shots back where it actually traverses the sun?
Yeah. Are you taking screen grabs? This
no,
one?
But I will be.
Do you want that one? Or do you want that one?
Yeah, just zoom in a couple of notches so it fills the screen.
that one. No, I'll find out. I think that.
Yeah, this one.
This one.
No, the next.
Any of them, just as long as you zoom in, just so they look prettier.
This one's the best because you can also see the windmills right next to the boat within the sun.
You're a bit quiet, Arwin. Say that again.
I really like this one because you can both see the boat and the windmills there, right in front of the sun disk.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's just a shame that cloud's in the way.
I don't know. I think that adds to it.
So, where's Anthony? Has he not come back in?
No, I think he had to nip off. We've only got about 5 minutes left of this show anyway.
I'm watching this a few pictures back where you also have the cloud above there visible. Could you switch back to that one?
The ones, oh right, okay. So the one where it's gone through that one.
Yeah, look at this. Look at the cloud very low. That's like passing behind the boat, and now look at the clouds above there. See how incredibly different that is. Clouds below seem to be only partially lit up, while way up there, there's like the sunlight directly hitting it straight on, while the sun disk is down there. That's really interesting. It's so different. Shouldn't the clouds below there, if the sun was literally the origin of the daylight, shouldn't the clouds below there be much more lit up, much more brightly lit up than the clouds way up there?
That's a good point, actually, yeah.
I think they're in the foreground,
bizarre,
and the
it?
back side of them would probably be lit up because they're much closer.
Yeah.
This, you mean this
and
band
bottom
that's
of
at
the cloud,
yeah.
of the bigger cloud, also.
Yeah, the big one.
Shouldn't
the big
that
one in the middle.
be brightly lit up instead of the top of it?
Again, that's just perspective. So even though the sun looks like it's on the horizon from our vantage point, obviously a further distance away, it's higher up, and therefore has an angle on these clouds, which are also higher up. Again, this is all just
exactly.
in line
I
with
think that further in the distance, the sun is actually higher up, and it is there from that vantage point, from where the daylight is coming over there, that it's lighting the top of the cloud, and not the clouds below there. But because from our vantage point, we see the sun disk at its current position, because that is where the sunlight is coming from our perspective, from our position. That's why we see the sun disk there. But in that actual location, the sunlight is coming from another direction. So I think that is why the sun is lighting up the top of the clouds there, but not the bottom ones.
Yeah, from our vantage point, it's far enough away to be on the horizon, but in reality, it's not actually getting lower and meeting the horizon or the ground at any point. So therefore, it's still always going to be above that cloud.
That's a really interesting observation.
That's a good point. So that would suggest that this could be a few hundred miles up at least, but it looks like it's setting, and it's like I've said that I think it's just this part here. And the sunlight's only reaching the top part of the cloud at the minute.
No, but it's not coming from the sun disk. This photo kind of proves
it's not setting. So it proves it's not setting.
Well, it's not the origin of the light. It's not literally coming from that disk. The disk is only the focal point from which the light, the direction of the light is coming in relation to the point of the observer.
Exactly.
But when you go there where the boat is, the sunlight, the daylight is coming from another direction, and the sun should be visible at another point. So it just proves that the sun disk is not literally the origin point of the light.
I'd agree. It's totally unique for you as the observer.
Yeah. The disk is only visible in relation to the observer. It is not the origin point, the point from which the light emanates. It's only a focal point. This is an awesome photo, Randy. Great work.
You got any more?
I don't know actually. Let's see. What else will I have? I've got my dog photos. Maybe you want to see them.
No, thanks. I'm good for dog photos.
Hey?
I'm good for dog photos.
That's a movie, 1:30. I don't know what that will be. See what it was. Like the sun is obviously like it's coming towards sunset. That's the clouds above it. I'm not sure this video is much caught, but oh, that was pretty nice actually.
Here again, you see the top of the clouds being lit very brightly, and the bottom is just a little bit fadey, barely lit up.
It proves that perspective is what's causing the sun to set.
Oh, I wouldn't directly call it of that perspective is the cause, but it definitely indicates that the sun is not a physical object, that it is actually an optical effect itself. It's just an apparent disk. Amazing stuff. So it is just like the blurring and the slant, it is like an optical effect. It is basically, yeah, like a mirage. A bright, very bright mirage. And I wonder if the lens flare that you see here currently is just like a lensed effect, like a rainbow. It is a reflection of this mirage, and that is what causes the lens flare.
Don't know. Don't know. What's this one? Have you seen that one? What's this? It looks like another sunset video. Unfortunately, I think on this time the cloud got in the way. So when I say I go every day, I pretty much go every day. Nice image though. What else have we got? I'm sure I did a video at night, you know, showing the whole panorama of the area to say this part's lit up and this part isn't lit up, and how can that be possible on a ball Earth? It's impossible. But I don't seem to have that video, not here anyway.
Yeah, it could be nice, as it's been a nice calm ending, if you can round us out with a few more snapshots to see what you've got. Don't mind, just anything pretty. Got about maybe 5 minutes, maybe a few less. I'll round out on the hour mark.
Right, okay. I think I sent you an image actually. It might be this one.
Hey Renty, how many photographs do you have now?
Oh crikey! If I had my other hard drive up, it'd be thousands and thousands. I've probably already got a few thousand. I'll leave you with this. This was from a higher observation, so it's much clearer. You know, and it's at a slightly different. Things are slightly parallaxed. So, for instance, this little mound here is actually this little mound here in front of the building this time. So this was the 1 foot observation. So I've lined it all up and I've put the buildings in where they should be. Everything matches up. And then when we come across here, we've got a bit of parallax going on here because we've got the steeple that's on the right side from this vantage point, which is on this side. But I noticed that, who was it? Who came in and said that this was 65 feet?
Tim
Osman?
Was it
Timmy Osman, yeah. And he said that you should be able to see some other buildings in this lower image. Well, I say, well, where? Because here we have this building, which is clearly here. Let me just scroll in a bit so you can see what I'm talking about. Here we have this building, which is evidenced here. Here we have the clock tower, There's the steeple. And then when we come across to this building, even from this vantage point, it looks like these buildings are blocking this corner piece, this right-hand corner piece. And it's completely evident in this image that something's blocking it there too. It's just not picked it up because it's darker. It's a darker colour as opposed to the one behind, which is much lighter, the building. And then we have this rock, you know, this big rock that's in the foreground here. It's evident here in the image too. It's just at a different parallax because we were parallaxed slightly. But just thought that would be interesting to show you that we were getting shore to shore with that 1 foot observation again. And this is a nice way to compare the two.
Very cool, very cool. And with that, I think I'll say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing the debate. If you hated the show, well then you know what to do, but if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you have not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!